Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has made it very clear Israel will, quote, use all its strength to destroy Hamas. But finding the leaders of the terrorist group will be no easy task. Mohammed Deif is believed to be the mastermind of the attack. He's also known as the guest. It is said he trained thousands of Hamas terrorists who swarmed into Israel using trucks, bulldozers, and paragliders. Deif has survived 7 Israeli assassination attempts and is rarely seen in public. He helped design the tunnel system in Gaza and is an explosives expert. While Deif is believed to be in Gaza, Ismail Haniyeh is far from the squalor of Gaza. He lives in relative luxury in Qatar. He has held significant political power within Hamas for more than 20 years. Haniyeh said today that none of the hostages would be released until the war is over. For more now on what it will take for Israeli forces to capture these 2 Hamas leaders, we're joined now by Matthew Levitt. He's the director of the Reinhard Program on Counterterrorism at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy. He's also the author of the book Hamas, Politics, Charity, and Terrorism in the Service of Jihad. Matthew, good to have you here. You know, both these men are similar in some respects. They were both born and raised in Gaza. Both are university educated. But while Haniyeh is the public face of Hamas, its leader, Deif is rarely seen or heard.
First of all, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm sorry it's under these circumstances. Look, Hamas has multiple leaders. That is a cadre of leaders for different types of purposes. It has leaders for its political and social and religious activities. It has leaders for its militant and terrorist activities. There are some in the world who see these as disparate wings, separate. In fact, they're all part of one uniformed organization. Mohammed Deif is a longtime leader of the Qassam Brigades, which is the terrorist wing of Hamas, which took on much more military-style responsibilities and capabilities ever since Hamas took over the Gaza Strip by force of arms in 2007. That's force of arms targeting fellow Palestinians in 2007. The Israelis had already withdrawn. And Ismail Haniyeh has been the longtime head of the political branch of Hamas. It's a clarifying moment when you have the political leader of Hamas issuing these statements saying victory, martyrdom, or death.
Right. Deif, I want to focus on Deif for a little bit. If you can just, tell us a little bit about who he is as a person. He was nearly killed in one of several assassination attempts. He reportedly uses a wheelchair now and has lost an eye. It's also said that he refuses to use all modern technology, which will make him hard to trace.
The Israelis have tried to kill Mohammed Deif several times because he's a senior leader in the Qassam Brigades, a senior commander, and is behind several specific plots and, more importantly, several kind of innovations in how Hamas has done things, including their tunnel systems. I'm not here talking about the tunnels dug to smuggle items from Egypt on the western side, but the attack tunnels smuggled from Gaza into Israel for the purpose of carrying out attacks on the eastern side. Some say he lost a finger, some say he lost an eye. Most people say he's in a wheelchair, but he hasn't been seen in many years. And it's believed that he does stay off modern communications because he understands that Israelis or others would be able to target those. And he's not the only commander, but he's one of the key people whose names we know.
And he's got his nickname as the Gassed because he moves from house to house so often, staying only a short time at each place. How hard is it going to be to find him?
It's going to be very hard to find him. It's going to be hard to find any particular individual. The Israelis are typically very well known for their extremely robust intelligence capabilities, but those clearly failed in the past few days, and they're going to need to find the wherewithal to pull together as an intelligence community to be able to find the specific people they need to find from among the bad guys, but also to find where the hostages, at least 150 people, are being held. About 120, we think, by Hamas and about 30 by Palestinian Islamic Jihad, not only to try and rescue them, but also to try and avoid hurting them while finding the Hamas terrorists.
I do think it's ironic that Haniyeh last was known to have been living in Qatar. So the attack that he approved and is now, all of the Palestinians in Gaza are now paying the price for with the retaliatory bombings from Israel. He's not even there by many accounts. He's someplace else entirely.
No, he's living in luxury, and he's not the first or the only Hamas official to be there. Another Hamas official, Khalid Mishal, issued a statement today calling for protests around the world on Friday. He too has lived in Qatar for many, many years, and so that irony should not be lost on your viewers. You're right.
No, it should not. Matthew Levitt, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Look forward to having you back on the show. Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.